record it. All right then, team. So we're going to do this nutrition workshop, all right? So like some of this is going to be a bit, I guess, little bit tactical, and sometimes it's going to be, some is not. It's going to be a bit more, I guess theory based. But reality of it is, nutrition doesn't need to be complicated, in my opinion. You just need to do it. That's all it is, right? So let's just jump in. So with nutrition coaching, it's not like I'm not a dietitian. Like I've never said I am, never really want to be either. But it's more about teaching you good skills and good habits, because at the end of the day, we all know what we need to do. We just don't do it. All right. So that's kind of where we're at. So we want to have positive eating habits. We don't want to be restrictive in what we do. We do want to have real food in our diets, and we want to make real change, because it's like all those diets out there are amazing. Keto is brilliant, works well. Lots of them work well, but they're not sustainable over time. You always hear people, oh, I'm back on keto, or I'm back on this, I'm back on that. The reason why they're back on it, because it didn't kind of work in the first place. So we need to have some kind of sustainable way to do this. And it's not always going to be perfect. You just got to understand it's not always perfect. It's not supposed to be, never will be. You just got to do the best you can. And the best you can will get better as you go. So again, we focus on accountability. It's a big part of what we do. And obviously, a lot of you guys have got coaches and whatnot, and you can ask us questions. But also, you got to have a level of your own self accountability as well. You got to put things in place. You got to put things in place on your day-to-day stuff to make this a priority and keep yourself accountable. So that's a big part, and I'll show you how to do that a bit later on. And I really hate to challenge your thinking. The diet world, if you like, is full of bad advice. Lots of charlatans out there trying to sell you the next potion and pill and whatnot. And I'm going to try and challenge your thinking around about how to do it in more of a sustainable way. So what we're going to cover today really is going to be mindset, okay? Because you've got to start off with the right mindset. You can't not have a right mindset. It's not going to work if you're not in the game, right? It's like that old adage, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink, okay? So you've got to have the right mindset, and you've got to be able to put yourself in that mindset all the time. You've got to understand a calorie balance. It really is the only thing that matters, kind of ish, all right? But really that's an overarching principle. It's a bit like saving money, okay? You've got to kind of earn more than you spend to save money. There's lots of nuances to investing and saving, but that is kind of the overarching picture. You can save more money by saving more money, or whatever else. So you've got to understand that, okay? Then I'm going to talk about food labels, because that's a big one as well. It's a really simple hack. It's not really overly complicated. Give you a quick rundown on that one. And then we're going to look about sneaky calories. So these are calories essentially that we don't even realize. The food item is really small, therefore you think it's insignificant, but it actually is really significant. Then we look about why you should weigh your food. I don't know, should you, shouldn't you? You could be the judge, and we'll do a little bit of an experiment with you guys, hopefully. I'm going to show you some of the resources that we have, because a lot of you guys have no idea what we have, because maybe we haven't communicated it to you well enough, or you just haven't looked around for it. But I'm going to show you where some of that stuff is. We're going to talk about a little Growing Younger chatbot that's going to really help you. And we're going to talk about preparation and planning. This was a little phrase I had when I was an apprentice, and my boss used to say, poor preparation and planning equals piss poor performance. So it's all about sharpening the axe before you do this thing. And that would be that. So just team, if you could just mute yourselves, that'd be amazing. And then I'm not getting the feedback. That'd be great. Okay, let's jump in. So me, okay, some of you guys know a bit about my story, some of you guys don't, but like essentially I was overweight from the age of 5 years old until I was 30. I was the least fit person you would ever know. I was very overweight, I was very unfit, I had very bad eating habits, I didn't really exercise much, drunk way too much, ate in excess all the time. And when I first came to New Zealand, that's my little picture with my stripy top on. When I came to New Zealand, I thought, well, I'm kind of sick of being a bit overweight, and I needed to do something about it. So I did that journey, and then about 4-6 months later, that was me. I lost a whole bunch of 20 kilos. But that's easy to do. This is me. This is obviously 2021, but this is me now. Like I am I haven't actually changed a huge amount. I've kept that weight off for about 15 years now. And every year goes by, it gets a little bit easier. But also, as every year goes by, I kind of consider myself to be a little bit of an anomaly because most people don't know people that have lost weight and kept it off for 15 years. They keep on putting it back on. Like that is what it is. And some of the things I'm going to tell you about today is how I do it. Like that is it. Um, so even if you're watching this thing today about and you're not even wanting to lose weight, okay, maybe you want to gain weight, maybe you want to maintain the weight. It's the principles still apply in the opposite. So we're gonna go into it. So first of all, though, you gotta change your identity a little bit, okay? So your identity is how you identify with your life, okay? So when I was in that pre-photo there, I identified as a big drinker. I would quite happily go and drink 10 pints of beer, and that was my flex. I could drink 10 beers and I'd be okay. But for me to be the slimmer, healthier self, I had to change that. I could not be healthy and be fit, but drinking 10 pints of beer on a weekend. It just wasn't going to work that way. Then you had to break it down into processes. So for me to be a healthy person, you've got to do things every day that healthy people do. And it was exercise, it was learning how to cook. I didn't know how to cook. It was tracking calories, understanding food, all those things, weight training, like all those things. And that was to give you the outcome. Because if I kept identifying as a fat guy, then the processes would be in relation to being a fat guy and the outcomes would be a fat guy. But if you want to be a healthy person or want to lose weight, you've got to start adopting the habits and the people that you want to become or the person that you want to become. You can't do it any other way. It's like having like a fire and you saying, give me heat, but you haven't put any wood on it. You haven't started the spark or anything. You just wanted to give you heat. It doesn't work that way. You kind of got to start making decisions when you to make that happen. Um, so moving forward, who has got their thing on? Can you, if you can mute yourself, that would be amazing. Let's have a look here. Anyway, so I want to tell you a really quick story, and it's going to kind of give you an idea about why I now do what I do. Okay, so a lot of you may not or not know I was a police officer for 22 years. And I actually only left the police 2 years ago, and it was to basically to pursue growing younger, and health and everything else. I needed again change my identity. I needed to go all in with growing younger because I couldn't be a cop and I couldn't have a gym. I couldn't do it all, right? Anyway, this quick story I want to tell you about. So one of the pivotal moments for me when I realized that I needed to leave the police to do what I wanted to do was, I was driving around Howick. I was a sergeant over in Howick, and 3:30 in the afternoon, a call comes in. There's been a sudden death. Okay, so a sudden death, if you don't know what that is, just someone's passed away. And I was a supervisor. I'd have to go down and I have to go and like check the body and make sure that there's nothing untoward. And if it was suspicious, I call down the detectives and everything else. But generally, I would be the guy that made the call. So it turns up at this little house, and it was children outside, very similar to this where the ambulance is. That's kind of how it looks. I was met by the ambulance crew. Said, "Oh, there's a lady passed away in the living room." Said, "Fine." So goes in there, and I walked in. This woman was 150 kilos, okay? And what happened was she was sitting on a desk, not unfamiliar to what I'm doing now. She'd had a heart attack. She was in the middle of eating a massive Chinese meal. She had a heart attack and she'd fallen backwards and she was gone on the floor, right? So she'd had a massive heart attack or a stroke or a pulmonary thing. Um, and there was just this big lady there, and obviously, when people do things like that, it's not a very pleasant sight. So I've gone in, I've looked at it, I've come back out, and then I speak to the neighbor, and she went, "Oh, this young child here, 10-year-old kid, found her." Right, that was her son. Okay, so the son had found, come home from school at 3:30 and found his mother dead on the floor, okay, because she had a heart attack, because she was extremely unhealthy. So I'd gone in there, and so part of the job that we do is go in and we take all the medications and everything else, and it was medications for diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol. It was like a whole raft of bunch of other stuff that was going on because she was so unhealthy. And like she was only early 40s. She was younger than I am now. And it was at that point, and growing younger had been going on a while at that point, and I thought, like, I need to change the narrative. People can't live like this. This is such a terrible thing. And my little boy was about 6 at that point. And I thought, like, I need to get this message out to people to like, you don't have to live like this. You don't have to, have a shortened life or a really poor quality of life. And that was a big thing, pivotal thing for me. Then that happened, and then about 6 months later, my best friend's wife in Wales passed away for exactly the same thing. She had a pulmonary heart attack, and his daughter found her dead in her bedroom. And it's just a terrible thing. And she was the same. She was overweight, didn't exercise, all those things, right? So these are the really close things to me that make me passionate about this and why I do what I do. So I just want to give you some context around why I do what I do. So when growing younger has been going on about seven or so years, and my journey is on the left. I have tracked 24,563 foods in MyFitnessPal. Okay. I've logged well over 7,500 meals in MyFitnessPal. This is when I started to track and lose my weight and understand that this is a calorie game only. Okay. Not many people you know have done that. I'm pretty sure about that, okay? Then I'm able to replicate it with our clients. And the average weight loss a growing younger member had is about 20 kilos. So there will be a lady who has lost 57 kilos. There will be people that lose 2 or 3 kilos, but the average is 20. And it's always done on the same principle. It's about understanding the calories in, the calories out, the exercise component, all those things. But really it comes down to mindset because like it's the same principle. It's just the person involved may or may not want to do the thing they're supposed to do. Okay. So when I was in the police, well, I used to teach something called the high performance framework. All right. And I stole this model from them because it's really cool. So what it comes down to, for anybody to perform at anything, you got to have skills, knowledge, and experience, and you got to have the mindset to be able to implement all those things, okay? So you could know everything that is to know about dieting. You might know, you might be a personal trainer, you might be an athlete. You have all the skills, knowledge, and experience, but if you haven't got the state of mind to put that into practice, you will never perform that well, right? So a lot of us come into it and we know what we need to do. We just need to be reminded or we need some accountability to do it. But if you can start to build your state of mind around what you want to achieve, you will be in a much better position. Okay. So, like, let's just say how you identify with your current situation is a big one. I hear time and time again, I am not a gym person. I do not want to count calories. I am busy. I don't like working out. I can't live without chocolate. I can't live without wine. It's all the stuff that you tell yourself, which is completely untrue. You can live without all those things. You just got to figure out a way to be motivated to do it and have a structure to work through to come off those things, all right? And it all starts with why. Why do you want to do it? So everybody that's come and sat with me in my little office and done our onboard, what are the first thing I ask you? What are your goals? Why do you want to achieve the goals? And what's going to get in your way? Like that is the first three things I ask everyone. And the reason I do that is because we need to air that out sometimes. Because some people say, I want to lose weight. And you go, okay, fine. Why? Oh, and like no one really knows. Like you got this thing inside somewhere. But you got to coax it out, right? So for me, my why is never to be fat again. That is it. Like I spent 30 years being massively overweight, and my why is never to be fat again. So if I wake up in the morning and I got the choice not to go to the gym or not to eat something healthy, that thing just floats in my head. I don't want to be fat again. And now my goals slightly changed. Where I got a 11-year-old boy. Like I'm 45, so I'm a bit of an older parent, but I want to be around for him as well. So my why is slightly changed a little bit, but it all started with I don't want to be fat again, and I don't want to be the fat dad now, and I want to be able to run around with him, right? So you got to change your state of mind. You got to have a reason for doing it, and that is why I get all of you to read your goals on a daily basis. Because if you don't understand your goals to start with, you're never going to be in the right frame of mind. Therefore, with all the skills, knowledge, and experience you have, you will never perform. Okay, so you've got to change your mindset, and that's really important. So, a lot of people see progress as this fighting an uphill battle. It's hard. I don't want to not eat that. I don't want to go to the gym in the morning because it's cold. Like you all feel it's an uphill battle. So when I was doing my high performance framework stuff within the police, the guy that taught us was responsible for helping Olympic athletes essentially perform at a higher level. And what he did was he said, you got to stop thinking of this as an uphill battle because psychologically, going uphill, pushing weight is hard. He said, you got to reframe it as on a flat plane. Okay, so you see your goal as instead of going uphill, just to a flat. That's it. And it's just time. And time will go as quick or as slow as you want it to be. And it's just about doing the basic stuff every single day. It doesn't become a hard thing. It's not a massive goal. So if you've got a massive weight loss goal or a health and fitness goal or something you want to achieve, you've got it there. You've got to be reminded by that. That's why you read your goals. But you're just on a straight line. That is it. There's going to be a couple of bumps along the way. You're going to have a party. You're going to have, I don't know, a social event, and you're going to have a bad day, but it's still on a flat plane, okay? And all you have to do on a daily basis is repeat the daily actions every single day that will get you to your big goal. And if you frame it in that way, and if you visualize it in that way, it becomes way easier. So it's not about now losing 20 kilos. It's about going for a 20-minute walk tomorrow morning. It's about eating fruit instead of a chocolate bar at mid-morning tea. That is the goal. That is it. And if you do that enough times, you'll get to your big goal. Okay. So think of it as a flat surface. Don't think of it as an uphill battle. Okay. That's a really important thing. So we're going to talk about dopamine. A lot of the times, and I watched a really awesome podcast the other day about people that had weight loss surgery. And a lot of them, once they lose their weight, they lose like massive amounts of weight. They become depressed. Okay. And he said it was such an interesting thing that why would they be depressed now they've lost like 100 kilos or whatever? And the thing of it is, when and the same with Ozempic as well, if you take Ozempic, what it does is that they now haven't got the ability to eat anymore. So, but eating was their comfort. Eating was their dopamine rush. Eating was the thing that made them happy. And all of a sudden they can't. Therefore, they're not able now to be happy about it. They just feel depressed because they can't do what they did before. So dopamine is really important. It acts on the areas of our brain to give us pleasure, satisfaction, motivation. And it controls so much about what we do. And that is why people are not successful with their health journeys because they see things as being um, not pleasurable. It doesn't give them satisfaction and it doesn't motivate them. Okay. But that's why people fail. But exercise, I'll show you in a minute, does do that eventually. So what happens is this dopamine rush. We get dopamine from alcohol, makes us feel nice on a glass of wine. Highly palatable foods. I'm not going to say sugary foods because that's not true. So highly palatable foods have sugar and they have fat and they have salt. They make it really nice, really tasty, okay? So when you combine those three together, then they become really pleasant. So if you were to bake a cake and didn't put sugar in it, you'd have the fat, the flour, it'd be a bit disgusting, right? So, or if you made a cake without the butter and just put the flour and the sugar, it wouldn't be very nice. But you put all three together, then it becomes a cake and then it's moreish, okay? So it's a highly palatable food. It's not necessarily sugar is the problem. It's a combination of all those foods to make it the same. So they give us a nice, good feeling. Friends and celebrations, they give us a good dopamine rush. Lazy mornings in bed after a tough week make us feel good. Netflix does it. Social media does it. Mobile games do it. Online shopping does it. Exercise also gives us dopamine. Eating well will give us dopamine. Good sleep give us dopamine, and so will hydration. But it takes a long time for those things to happen. And as human beings, we want the quick win, the quick feeling right now because you feel shit and you want to feel good now. Therefore, you will do all those things. You'll avoid the gym because you don't feel like now. You will not eat the healthy snack because you don't feel like now. Because you're not very good at we're not very good at helping our future selves. But you will have a lot of regret when you look back and go, I didn't do the things I should have done. And that gave you a lot of regret and stress. We're not good at doing it because it doesn't give us an instant hit of dopamine. And we got to get better at delaying some gratification for a longer term outgain. And, I look at my friend's wife and that poor lady that passed away. Like they were extreme examples of they just want dopamine hits right now. They want to eat now. They want to do nothing now. And that leads to a very unhealthy life. Okay. So we got to manage it. Really important to understand. It takes time. These things we all know will be beneficial to us. We all know that. None of us will say none of this is helpful, but it takes time and you've got to be in the game long enough to experience it. So you got to understand when I was a overweight guy, like I used to dread going to the gym. I used to dread like making that healthy soup or whatever I had to make that day on the diet plan. but I did it anyway because I understood why I was doing it, and I just believed in the process that I would, and I was sick and tired of it, and it did. And over time now, if I don't exercise, I feel worse than if I do. Or if I don't eat healthily most of the time, I don't feel as good as I do when I am eating healthy. And I've been able to make that switch for the other way around. So I can, I can just be I can just do healthy activities and feel really, really good about it. And when I don't do when I don't do healthy activities, I don't feel so good. So now I'm a proper lightweight. If I have a glass of wine, I got a hangover the next day, right? So now I kind of avoid alcohol because I don't want to feel sick tomorrow. I want to go for a run. I want to do something. I want to be active. I want to be out enjoying life. Okay. So it takes time. You got to understand that. You got to be in the game long enough. So where's my next slide? Okay. So now I want to talk to you about energy balance. Okay. Because like the mystery around weight loss, and I keep using weight loss because 99% of our clients want to lose weight. You can flip this to muscle gain or everything else. You just swap the equation over. So a lot of people will talk about energy, well, don't want to believe energy balance. They don't want to understand this. And we all seem to think that our unique situation is different from everybody else's, but actually it's not, okay? So it's a balance, calories in, calories out. And yes, there's a hormonal factor to that. And if you've got a slow metabolism through thyroid or just that's the card you've been dealt, it is still calories in, calories out. And I'll give you a really good example. If, for argument's sake, you went out to a third world country, those people have the same issues we have. They still go through menopause, okay? They are highly stressed and carry lots of cortisol, but they're starving. And not one of those people are obese or overweight. None of them, not one. They're all skinny because they don't eat enough. That's a very extreme example. So for us in our Western lives, food is abundant, highly palatable foods are abundant. We're suffering from stress and everything else, and we blame, I'm stressed, I can't lose weight. I'm going through menopause, I can't lose weight. I'm got slow metabolism, I can't lose weight. You can lose weight. I've seen it time and time again. You just got to understand there's a calorie balance. And the situation you're in right now is a result of how much you're eating, how much you're exercising, and where you're at now. And if you're unfortunate to have a slow metabolism, you just have to deal with it. Like it is what it is. So you just got to make allowances for that. And I'm going to show you a really good example in a second of what I mean by that, okay? So this is a bit of a trigger warning, okay? So this is what we got. Energy is something called the law of thermodynamics, okay? And people will argue it, but it's true. When we eat our foods, our bodies take in energy. When we eat, we take in energy. Energy is measured in calories. We need energy to do everything. Walking, talking, thinking. Our brain runs on sugar, right? And we use and store energy in a really good way. So evolutionary, it's a good thing that we can store body fat because like when we were, running around in the caveman times, we would have to carry some body fat to last for periods of famine. That was it. That's how we did it. Can we turn you on mute? Yeah. Um, so, like, if you use energy, you're moving around, you're playing sports, you're running, you're walking, doing everything you need to do. And you store energy if you don't use that energy up. Like, that's just how it happens. That's how we become overweight. So when you lose muscle mass, for argument's sake, because muscle is a very active tissue, it burns calories at rest. If you lose muscle and continue to eat the same calories, you will start to gain weight now. Okay, you see it all the time. We're like, as we hitting over 40, we're not as active. Our muscle mass comes down. We eat exactly the same, but now we've got a calorie discrepancy. So reality of it is, if you lose in a kilo of muscle every single year, you got to eat less or move a little bit more to counteract that decrease. But none of us really know. Like you can't really check it out unless you track this stuff. But this is the fundamental principle of weight gain and weight loss. We just burn and we store energy. That's what we do. So this is how we burn calories, okay? So like people will call this the TDE, and it's a total daily energy expenditure. So what the scientists and stuff have done, they say, well, look, a person burns calories in a couple of different ways. Your BMR is your metabolism. Okay, it equates to about 70% of your calorie burn. If you've got a slow metabolism, it might be 65. Okay, so it is what it is. Then you got NEAT, which is non-exercise activity. It's just how many steps you do, how many times you walk around, throughout the day. So if you've got a really sedentary job, then your NEAT is very, very low because you're sitting down at a desk 8 hours. I actually sit down for about 7 to 8 hours a day. It's crazy when I look because I got to watch track it all. But I have to force the exercise in other times. So TEF is thermic effective food. It is things like protein and it's fiber and all those things burn calories within digestion. Okay, so if you're eating a higher fiber or higher protein meal, then that you burn extra calories off than if it was all fat or all carbs. And then you got EAT, which is exercise activities, the calories you burn through exercise. Now, when you look at that, okay, it's probably a bit backwards. People think that if they exercise all the time, they're going to lose weight. It's such a small part of the equation. It's not even funny. The big things are your NEAT, how active you are in the day, just moving around, putting the washing out, walking to the shops, walking upstairs. That's a big, big chunk of where you burn calories. And so is our food, really important, okay? That's how we do it. So I'm going to give you an example, and I'm going to use me as the example. And this is all based off my kind of smartwatch because it's like I do track this stuff, right? So in the real world, currently at the moment, I eat about 2,200 calories a day. Okay. I weigh about 80 kilos right now. I'm about 5'9", and that's what I eat every day to maintain my weight. That's what I do. So my BMR is about 1,320 calories a day. So if I did nothing to slide down all day, I could eat 1,300 calories and maintain my weight. I do my walk I do every morning and the steps I do throughout the day equates to about 352 calories worth of burn. Okay. My thermic effect of feeding is about 228. I can't really track that too well, but it's about that. And my exercise is 300 calories a day. So on a daily basis, through activity, I burn off about 650 calories a day through exercise. Okay. And that's every day. That's active Gav. Okay. Now, if I'm lightly active, Gav, okay, and let's just say I don't go to the gym, okay, there's 300 calories less that I have to eat to maintain my weight. So now I'm down to 1,900 calories a day to maintain my weight. So my BMR stays the same, my NEAT is the same, my food's the same, but I'm not burning 300 calories off in the gym anymore. So I have to adjust my calories. This is lazy Gav. This is what I used to be like. My BMR was the same. I didn't do any walking. I didn't go to the gym, and my food was probably about the same. So now my calories are 1,500 per day. Okay, that is it. So if I eat 2,000 calories a day, but my body is only burning 1,500, that's a 500 calorie per day surplus. That means that's about half a kilo of weight gain per week. Okay, if I carried on that trajectory. And that's where I was. I used to eat way over. I was 20 kilos heavier. So you do the math to that one. So what a lot of people don't understand is exactly this. They we talk about calories and I'll say, look, you need to eat about 1,500 calories. Oh, that's too low. I say, why is it too low? And they say, well, I read something that it was that. I say, well, that's fine. You can read that. You can listen to the calculator. But the reality is you're not losing weight, right? They go, no. Well, it's because you're eating too much for your activity level. That is it. Um, and like I had a lady called Cara, and she's the one who lost 57 kilos with it, right? And she was housebound, and she couldn't exercise at all. She was sat down all day long. She came to the gym maybe once or twice a week and did some classes. A lot of the members will know Cara. And when we worked it out, like 1,200 calories, like was what she needed. And she used to argue with, no, no, no. I said, look, Cara, please just try it for 1 week. Just humor me for a week. And then she lost 2 kilos. And then next is 3 kilos and 4 kilos and five. And then she did the same and lost 57 kilos, right? And then as she became more active, she was able to eat more because she was more active now. Therefore, more calories were being burnt throughout the day. So although she started at 1,200 calories simply because she couldn't do any more, she couldn't do exercise anymore, that actually got better. So like you can make this any way you want and argue any way you want, but this is the truth. This is what it is. So you got to exercise and everything else, but you got to understand that the intake of food that you eat is so much more important to monitor than the exercise. Because let's just face it, if I had I'll show you in a minute actually, but like if I had a Tim Tam, it's 100 calories a Tim Tam. And I like Tim Tams. So if I have 3 or 4 Tim Tams, let's just say I have 6 Tim Tams, easy to do. That is my entire day's worth of exercise just eating in Tim Tams. It took me about 10 seconds to devour them, but it took me probably hour and a half to burn it off. Okay. So there's a huge discrepancy. Okay. You can eat it quickly, it takes ages to burn off. So that's kind of that. So when you break it down even further, and I actually really love this analogy in this scenario, we are awake for about 17, 18 hours a day, okay? So that means per hour, we're only able to eat a certain amount of calories per hour, okay? Or per meal. So if I can eat 200 calories per day, each meal or snack that I have can be 400 calories. That's a really decent snack. It's a really decent meal. It allows me to eat a bit of chocolate if I want because it's so much. If I'm lightly active, it's a bit less. I can't quite eat the whole thing anymore. And if I'm really inactive, then it's only 300 calories per meal. Okay. That's based on eating 5 times a day. Now, per hour, okay, 222 calories per day is 138 calories per hour I can eat. Okay. So if I'm lightly active, it's 118 calories per hour. But if I'm not active, it's 96. It's nothing. It's one Tim Tam an hour as I'm allowed to maintain my weight. Okay. But a lot of us will eat very high calorie dense foods. And let's just, I'll use morning tea as an example because it's easy to understand. If I have a latte, it's 200 calories. If I have a muffin, it might be 300 calories. That's 500 calories I've just eaten from a coffee and a muffin. It's not a lot of food volume, but it's a lot in calories. So therefore, I shouldn't eat anything for another 5 hours now. But the reality of it is you're going to be very hungry in about an hour or two because the simple sugars, it's burned off really fast, there's not much fiber, therefore it makes you hungry. And you eat something else. And all of a sudden, you're now eating eating faster than you should be in terms of calories of the day. And then you go and have your lunch and you'll have your lunch. And then you'll have your afternoon tea and your afternoon tea. And then you have your glass of wine at night or your whatever it is. And all of a sudden, you're now eating 150 calories per hour and you're 50 calories per hour out. It only takes 250 calories per day to start putting weight on. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense. So like we're not able to eat as much as we think we can. That is what it comes down to. And the only way you're going to know that is to actually track some of this stuff out. So I find this quite profound. I thought it was pretty cool when I worked it out. So the only thing we need to worry about, and I talk about calories all the time, okay, is because there are lots and lots and lots of studies done and have been done in the real world, scientific world. And this one in particular was a review where they had 25 studies comparing different diets. Okay, so they've taken all these studies, 25 of them, and looked at different diets. And what they found were that all diets will lead to weight loss as long as the person was in a calorie deficit, burning more calories than they consumed. But there's one caveat. The importance of protein and a calorie controlled diet is the gold standard. If you can increase your protein to your minimum level for your activity and you reduce your calories, you'll preserve more muscle mass, you will burn more body fat, and you will have a better looking body. Okay, so as long as protein and your calories are right, the rest doesn't really matter, which is really cool. Okay, it's really easy for us to understand this stuff. All right. So when you look at so all of you got a meal plan in your thing, right? So when you look at your meal plans, it kind of looks like this. It gives us an idea, and you've got all of our access to this as well. You can see the charts and stuff in your apps and things, right? So this one there, like you can see on this particular one, the calories are bang on, the calories haven't changed, but the fat's a little bit high, the carbs are like in thing, and it's quite a low protein diet. So for this person, I would say just increase your protein a little bit. Keep the calories the same, eat a bit more chicken or fish or protein powders or whatever else. But you don't really need to worry about it too much. It's just a range. Like it's not, we're not supposed to be eating exactly 180 grams of protein, exactly 160 grams of carbs. It doesn't work that way. You've got to look at this from a common sense perspective and go, look, I need to eat a bit more protein, need to keep the calories in check, and it's a range. I can go up some days, a bit low some days, but as long as I'm doing about that, it's fine. So for me, this is fine. I wouldn't really worry too much about this one. But if you're into that macro counting, like it takes up a lot of energy to think about it and try and work it out. It's actually I did it. So for years, I would track my macros meticulously. I would have exactly 200 grams of protein, exactly 200 grams. And it drive me nuts. I did it for about a year and a half. And I was like, this is mind-boggling to me. I can't actually do this forever because it takes up so much bandwidth. But then I thought, well, I'm just going to track my calories and see what happens. And as soon as I did that, the whole world got easier. I could have some chocolate. I could have whatever I wanted as long as my calories were right and I exercised. And that was kind of my sort of revelation, my epiphany, if you like. So the only way to understand this is to read your food labels, okay? You can't not understand it. So a lot of people get super confused by food labels, and I used to be exactly the same. And really, this is what it is. Okay, this is a standard nutrition label that you see in New Zealand. Okay, so as you can see on it, like it looks a bit confusing. What am I looking at? So let's look at it. So first of all, I stick with calories, it's easy to understand. But if a food label has kilojoules on the back, divided by 4, that will give you your calories. That's a quick math you can do in your head, right? So pretty straightforward. So this says 895 kJ, kilojoules, but it's actually 223 calories, okay? The next thing, the highest macronutrient on the back of this is what it is. So a lot of people will say like, oh, I eat peanut butter because it's got lots of protein in it. It's like, well, it actually hasn't. It's got like 8 grams of protein in it, and it's got about 30 grams of fat in it, right? Off the top of my head. So although it's marketed at high protein, it isn't high protein. It's a fat source, and that's a fat source. So you got to be able to look at the back of the label and go, well, what is this? So well, it's got, okay, 10, 11 grams of protein. It's pretty good. But it's also got 33 grams of carbs. This is a carb source. It is not a protein source. It is a carb that has high protein, but it is not protein. It's a carb. You also look at the fat. It's a low fat. It's a low fat item. So they're the 3 things you really need to worry about when you're looking at the back. So when it's got, some people also get a bit confused with the carbohydrate and the sugar breakdown. Sugars are carbs. They're either simple or they're complex. But the total is 33 grams of carbs, but 15 or 16 of those are sugar. Okay, but it's all the same. Really, your body breaks it down to be the same way. It doesn't really matter too much. The serving size is often overlooked and not accounted for. So a lot of people will, like a Kit Kat's a really good example, right? If you've got a 4-finger Kit Kat, from memory, it's 2 servings. Okay, so you might look at the back and go, it's 100 calories. No, per serve, it's 250 calories. But we don't know that. It's in 1 pack, therefore we think it's 1 serve, but it's not, it's 2. Okay, so it's just things to be aware of. So look at the food labels on how many servings is this packet, and then that will give you the right number. And also, like in some respects, like if you had a can of tomatoes or something, like if it says 100 grams is 100 calories, and you need to know what 100 grams looks like, because if you just go half a tin and it's 200, then the calories are not right. You've got to weigh this stuff out a bit. So if you're unsure really about what food source it is, just read the food label. Just because a food company has labeled it to be something or highlighted to what it is, doesn't necessarily mean it is. So you got to understand this stuff a bit better. And this is a really easy way to do it. How many calories, how many servings, the most dominant macronutrient, which is either protein, fat, or carb. The highest one is what it is. Okay, avocado is a good example. It's classed as a fruit actually, but it's a high fat item. Okay, so it's not lots of sugar like you think a fruit would be. So sneaky calories we never think to question. And we're talking about dopamine as well with this as well, because they give us a thing. So 10 grams of butter is 80 calories. Okay. 10 grams of olive oil is 100 calories. 15 grams of mayo is 100 calories. 1 sausage link that you get in your sausage sizzle is 250 to 300 calories. Okay. People don't, because it's small and it does not much. 30 grams of pesto is 150 calories. Milk in your tea and coffee throughout the day, tip, about 2 to 300 calories per day. All right. And a little knob, 28 grams of cheese is 150 calories. So the thing of it is, because it's so small, like most of us are not weighing the butter out. You're not measuring the oil out that goes into your stir fry. You're just chucking it in there. And I was at a school kids camp last year, and they were making pancakes, and the woman there was making pancakes, and she blasted the oil into the thing to make a pancake. And I was like, far out, that's about 400 calories of oil you just put in there to make a pancake. So like she didn't know, I knew because I do this stuff, but that's how you get it wrong because you just don't know. You don't realize that these small items have a massive impact on your day. And if you're a person that's slightly active or you're not exercising enough or whatever else, then these make a significant impact on your life and your day. So then you got, so that's kind of that. Then I'll talk about high protein foods, okay? So I want you to I want to put this chart up to show you. So think of it as with protein, and it's very difficult. If you're a vegetarian, it is a little bit harder to do it. But these are kind of what it is. So chicken breast is usually the highest protein per serve. Okay, it's 31 grams of protein per serve, per about 100 grams. Eggs, they got lots of fat in as well. They have got high protein, but they're not super high in protein. Your Greek yogurt. So Greek yogurt is interesting because it's roughly the same amount of carbs as there is protein. Therefore, you can use it as a carb or a protein source. So one of the anomalies, right? Salmon has 22 grams of protein per 100 grams, but it's also 200 calories as well. You got lentils, it's a big one. So lentils have 18 grams of protein per 100 grams, and it's 116 calories. Beans are okay, they're not too bad, but they are very carb heavy, and they're very high in calories. Almonds, so people talk about nuts, right? I love this because people go, well, nuts are high in protein. Yeah, sure. 100 grams of nuts is 21 grams of protein, but nearly 600 calories. Like it's massive. So then you're not getting protein from nuts, you're getting fat from nuts and lots of calories. Quinoa, 8 grams of protein, 120 calories. Beef, about the same as chicken, a bit less protein. Tofu, broccoli, cottage cheese, pumpkin, hemp seeds. So as you can see, as you get to the bottom, the seeds are fat sources. And yes, per 100 grams, they got lots of protein. So if I can see if I can do a pen thing here. Hold on a minute. Where are we? Okay, so you can see they've got the same amount of protein roughly as the chicken, but look at the calorie difference. Okay, and it's all for the same amount of weight. So you got to be super careful. They got high protein for sure, but they've also high in calories as well. So you got to really understand this stuff. And this is what I want to try and show you today. And if you throw in lots of pumpkin seeds and chia seeds and stuff on your oats or in your salads and things like that, you're bumping those calories up all the time, and it's massive. You don't even realize, okay? So move this out of the way. So get rid of all this. Cool. So hopefully that makes a bit of sense. Okay, I'm gonna do an experiment with you guys. If you're not driving, okay. If you has anybody got a digital weighing scales? Okay, cool. Go and grab it and grab 3 items or 2 items of fruit, whatever it is you want to do, or a vegetable. It doesn't matter. Just humor me for a second. I'll wait for you. Here we go. Okay, good. Okay, so what I want you to do, I want you to hold a piece of fruit or something in your hand, and yeah, okay, keep fruit, and I want you to just guess the weight. Okay? And then I want you to taro your scales, and I want you to put it on the scales and see how right or wrong you are. Some might get it. And if you've got a couple of items, do it 2 or 3 times because it's a good exercise. Okay? And you may only be 10 or 20 grams out or 50 grams out. It doesn't matter, but yeah. So what I want you to do, okay? I'm gonna start a chat here. So just put in there how much were you out, if at all? Pop it in there. So tell me how much you got out by with what your guess was to what it actually was. 120, good. So was that you were out by 120 grams? Good. That's okay. That's a good effort. Good. Okay. Anybody else? 100. Okay. Yeah. 100 grams. Anybody else? All right. Anyway, that kind of proves my point. that you got no idea how much something weighs. Okay, so if you're going to try and track it as an amount of weight, you don't really know. And how would you know? Like that's it. It's not your fault. You just want to know. So if you're 100 grams out, you're 100 calories out sometimes on certain things. If that's if a low calorie item. So when you're trying to eyeball this stuff, then that's okay, Rhea. If you like if you're out by 100 grams per item, like you could be 600-700 calories a day eating too much. And you think you're doing the right things, but you're not. And it's not your fault. You just didn't know better. But all a weighing scales does, it gives you perspective. It gives you a frame of reference. Because once you've done this 20, 30 times, you're gonna be able to do it without weighing your food because you've got an idea of what it is. So when I like, like when I've done my fitness pal, like 12,000 items. I can look at food now and go, that's about 60 grams, it's about 80 calories. I don't have to track meticulously. I just get it. Okay. It's a learning curve. All right. Okay. So, like I said, 24,000 foods I've logged. I don't always get it right even now. So, this is a really simple example. Let's just say you weighed out three items, okay? Or you had three items, an apple, butter on your bread, mayonnaise on your salad, okay? If you estimate it to be 100 grams, but in reality your apple's 150, you're 25 calories extra. If you estimate your butter to be 10 grams, but it's 20, because that's probably what it is, you're 80 calories out. If you overestimate your mayo, then you're 100 calories. So three items, okay, you're 205 calories out just by those three items. That alone, if you do that every single day for 7 days, you've eaten 1,400 calories more than what you needed to. So for some of you guys, that's a whole extra day of eating just by not understanding that the weight to the calories that you've got. It's massive, right? So that's just my take on should you weigh your food out. I think you should if you're learning or if you're frustrated and you're not getting anywhere because you will learn a lot. I also know that because when I've had clients do this, every single one of them goes, "Oh my God, I had no idea I was overeating," but I think I know. And it's just a hard thing you have to do to start with to learn. Okay. There's a really good saying that I like, you gotta first suck to be good. You got to be willing to be rubbish at something before you become good at something. And this is just it. Okay. You just got to learn to do it, right? So we'll go next bit. Okay. Now, this is a bit more tactical stuff because you got all this information on your apps, okay? So if you go on the portal, you don't have to do it now, but on the front of your app on your portal, you will have useful links on there. And in the portal, you have got a whole bunch of guides, and I'll talk about some of the stuff in a minute anyway. But like all the stuff I just talked about is in there. There's a sneaky calorie guide in there. There's a drinks and alcohol guide in there. There's a whole bunch of other stuff in there as well. And but just go into it and use it and learn it and understand it, and you're going to find this thing a lot easier for you. You've also got a meal plan as well. And the meal plan, it obviously lives down in the bottom right corner under your thing, okay? And that meal plan is just a guide, okay? You can stick to it 100% if you want, like, and there's some fantastic foods in there, you can do it. But what I really want to show you more than anything else, I'll go back a slide actually. Each meal has a calorie serving on it, okay? So it takes a lot of the guesswork out for you. So if you chose this breakfast, you know, and this person eats this many calories per day, okay? If you chose this breakfast, it's 475 calories. That's what it is. And if you go into it, it's all listed for you. It's listed for you in weight, in portions and everything. And if you just follow the whole thing, you will be confident that you will be getting a pretty accurate calorie number. The other thing is that your snacks then are given to you as well and your lunches. So all you need to do, whatever you decide to eat that day, you make it the same calories. It doesn't matter what it is you eat. So if you're rushing around and you can't do it and you want to, even if you had to get a McDonald's, there's a McDonald's guide in the portal as well. As long as your meal is the same calories, you can eat it. It's fine. Okay. So that's kind of that. Get rid of all this. Does that all kind of make sense? So you don't have to worry about, oh, yeah, it's like an American guide or whatever else. Don't worry about that. It's just like, it just gives you an idea of what to do with it. And when you go into these meals, if it gives you like tofu or chicken or whatever, and if you haven't got chicken or tofu, use pork, use beef, whatever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter too much. Just swap out like for like, and just gives you some ideas, all right? So that's your meal plan. So I'm gonna jump in there. This is the portal that you got access to. And when you on the first page on the home page, there's a whole thing in there, how to use your meal plan. So you go into it, and I got a whole video on there, which is about 8 to 10 minutes long, to show you how to use your meal plan. And then there's a guide in there to say, look, if you've got this, eat something else the same. And it's just a really nice guide for you to do it. It also tells you how to swap things out as well. So you can swap lean proteins for lean proteins. It doesn't matter. You can be as flexible or as much as you want. And then there's a little bit of thing about food labels on the bottom for you as well to play with. Okay. But that is all in the portal on this thing there. Then the other feature that you've got in your app as well, which is really cool and it's getting better every day, is how to add your own meals into the app. And you can come down and watch the video there. I won't take you into it now, but you can go in there and you can add your own stuff in. You can eat whatever you want, put it all in there. Okay, so that's the other option that you've got in there. All right. And then the next bit, the next new feature. Team Gavin here from Growing Younger, and I want to tell you about a fantastic new feature that lives within your meal plan.
We're not hearing anything, Gavin, or I'm
Oh,
not.
you're not? Oh, okay. Anyway, you've already sent the video. I'll talk you through it then. I'll mute it down. So what it means is, if I go back just a tap, I thought you could hear it. So on the top there is a basket. If you click on the basket, it'll give you a recipe list. So all the food items you need for your meal plan. That's what it gives you. Need a tick. Oh, thanks, Donna. You're obviously a Zoom whiz. So give it a thing. So when you go through, it'll generate the grocery list for you, and you can choose what list you want. So if you've got like 7-day meal plan, you can either click day 1, day 4, day 6, whatever, and then you can do that. And then that's how you do it. And you can go to the shopping list and tick it off and do it. So that's a really cool feature. Very, very easy. And what it does is it just populates this thing. So you can go and pick your almond butter, or your apples, or your fruit, or your avocados, gives you the grams and whatever as well. So that's quite a neat little feature that you've got within your app to make things easier for you. Okay. So that's kind of more of a tactical thing around that. But use your meal plan as a guide for you. It gives you the total calories for the day, gives you all the ideas, but that's kind of that. So the next thing that I've done as well, which is I've been working on this for a little while now, and it's been in under your useful links for quite a while, but not many people have noticed it. It's a little bit of a chatbot. So what I've done, I've created a chatbot which will answer a lot of questions for your own nutrition. And this again is in the app, but it also gives you the prompts as well. So can you suggest a healthy breakfast? And so I'll do it now. So let's just say I want to ask it this question. I'll copy that out. And then you can have this on your phone anytime. But what it does, you can ask it any questions. You can make shopping lists and meal plans and anything that you want to do, right? So if I copied and paste that in there, it'll tell me, and I'll say I've got no nutrition, nothing going on. It asks me about if I got any issues going on. So it'll tell me about all the information about a banana. So if I then say, make me a recipe for banana pancakes that are no more than 300 calories, it should, fingers crossed, give me a recipe for banana pancakes. Okay.
Oh.
It is really cool, guys. Like seriously, if you're not using it, jump in and use it. I've made quite a lot of recipes from it. and it's been spot on as well. So you can ask it anything you want. It's very nutritionally focused. And if you can't answer, it'll ask you questions. So if I said, create me a meal plan for 1,500 calories per day, I am vegan. It should give me all that stuff as well. So it'll give me a whole bunch of stuff to flick to. So you got a whole bunch of resources at your fingertips essentially to look at, right? And then you can say, okay, that's fine. Like how many, what are the grams like? So what are the measurements? Meal plan, and he'll hopefully redo it again for me, and he'll tell me how much, how much to do. Okay, so it's a really cool feature that you can ask it, and it'll basically just play with it, and it'll give you everything you're gonna need. Okay, which is really cool. That's a little chatbot. So now we're going to move on to this next bit, which is the poor preparation and planning. So a lot of the times, like we are all busy, like, we may have a couple of different stages of ages with us, right? So some of us have got young kids, some of us are maybe retiring or busy and working, whatever, this whole range. But the same problems arise. We just haven't got the time sometimes to do it. And a lot of the times we just underprepared. And a lot of the frustrations come from not doing the work you should have done. And that's what a lot of us get frustrated with more than anything else. We're more mad at ourselves than anything else. So when I first started growing younger, I used to make people track their calories on MyFitnessPal. It was a non-negotiable. Everyone did it. And I used to get some real big pushback on it, and people would not want to do it. And then people said, I want a meal plan. Okay, so fine. So anyway, we managed to sort the meal plan things out. But funny thing happened. No one follows the meal plans either because they don't want to eat the meal plan. So there's very much like people don't want to do what they don't want to do, and they never want to plan. A lot of people do, but there's a big portion of people that don't. The other thing then, people realize that they think there's a shortcut, and there's not. So there's a really cool phrase I heard, which is uninformed optimism and informed pessimism. So at the beginning of any kind of journey, fitness and whatever, you're uninformed and you're optimistic about this new thing is going to be the answer to my problems. And then you realize there's work to be done. And that is where you go into the valley of despair and you end up with this informed pessimism. You go, oh my God, do I have to do this to get what I want? And the reality is, yes, you got to do it, right? And at the end of the day, your current lifestyle is responsible for your current situation. And people prefer to stay in this kind of perpetual cycle than do what needs to be done to make a change. And I was very much that person. And like you've got sometimes, and that is why you got to have the why. You got to have the magnetic why to make the hard work seem worth it. But the reality of it is, it does get easier over time. The more you do it, the easier it becomes. You just got to do it. Okay, it's really hard to explain that. So is a really cool saying by Sun Tzu: every battle is won before it is fought. And that is the same with our health and fitness. You've got to plan and prepare and deliberately make time to do the things you need to do to be successful. That is it. And if you can do that, you've won. Like simple as that, right? So what does planning look like? And I'm not expecting you to be crazy planners and do all this elaborate meal prep and whatever else. It doesn't have to be that difficult. These are the things that have helped me and have helped some people I coach as well. Read the food labels. If you can just read the food label and read 5 a day or 5 or 10 a week, whatever you can manage, you will learn so much about the food that you're eating. Okay, it'll change how you look at everything. It's amazing. You could track your calories before you eat them. So a lot of people I know will use MyFitnessPal Hour app to track their food, but they do it after. They'll eat it, then track it. Oh, damn, I've gone over. Do it before, because then you're prepared. You go, oh, damn, that's like, oh, yeah, if I eat that, I'm like way over my calories. But then you say, well, if I have half of it, I'll be under my calories. Okay, so that's how you prepare. Just prepare in the moment. You could food prep. So you could spend an hour on a Sunday making some meals, okay, or whatever, or making overnight oats or breakfast. You can do that. you can buy prep meals. So, we use swole foods and whatnot, or I actually eat supermarket Weight Watchers meals in the daytime because it's actually they're pretty good calorie numbers and they're fine. Um, don't buy that in the first place. The amount of the amount of times I've bumped into my clients in Countdown with shopping trolleys full of chips and biscuits, and they look at me and nearly die. As if I had a dollar for that, I'd be rich. But like you're buying it, don't buy it in the first place. If you're gonna buy it, you're gonna eat it, right? So don't do it. You could buy low calorie alternatives. So instead of buying full fat milk, you could drink trim milk or lower fat milk, right? Anything like that. You could make a shopping list and don't deviate from it. Buy the things that are essential. Shop online is a really good way to do this because you're not tempted by that little dopamine. Oh, I could have a bit of chocolate there or a glass of wine there. You just make the list, buy it, deliver it, whatever. And make time in your diary. And I find this to be the best way to do it, right? And then make it a habit. So, habits 101. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. It's a whole massive thing. A habit loop. Okay, if you've ever read a book on habits, these are three great books I recommend everybody reads anyway. But it starts with a trigger. Example, big long week at work, come home from work. I want a glass of wine because I've had a busy week. Trigger. The routine is pour yourself that glass of wine, feel a bit better, and that's the reward. Okay, that is what happens. Now, you could change this around a little bit, okay? And I'm not going to go too far into it, but change the trigger. Like set an alarm when you get in from work, and instead of having a glass of wine, you go for a walk instead for 20 minutes. Okay, it'll give you the same outcome eventually. Okay, it may not be as nice, but it'll give you the same thing. Or you have a low calorie wine or whatever that is, but you got to change the routine. You're still gonna feel like that. You still like feel I want to do it, but you got to change the action, the routine, and it'll give you a different reward. Okay, we're all a result of our habits. Anyway, these are three good books. Write them down. Definitely worth a read or a listen. What does planning look like? This is my diary. Okay, I show this to lots of people. This is how I plan my week. You can see right there that I make my health and fitness a massive priority, okay? Because I was a fat guy. And there is my gym time and my walk. This is where I read my goals, okay? I do what I ask you guys to do. I'm not doing it myself. So for me, I understand why I need to be doing what I'm doing, whether it be through business or whether it be through personal. I then will walk for an hour or run between 7 and 9, usually 7 till 8 normally. Then I'll go to the gym about 9 o'clock, and that's what I do every single day. Then I'm sat on my butt until I go home at nighttime because I'm with clients and stuff, right? So I'm very inactive. But what I do, I plan this stuff in. I plan it in my diary, okay? I plan the family time out. I plan the gym, firefighting, dealing with issues out. I got my daily tasks in there. It helps me manage my day, all right? And if I close this down a little bit, and then this is what it kind of looks like. Like you gotta, if you don't make time for your health and fitness, you will have no time for health and fitness. That is just the reality of it. And it starts with planning. You just got to plan your week out a little bit. And sure, things can change. I mean, I might on a Monday morning, oh, I can't actually walk today because something else has happened, or I got to do whatever. I just like it's fine. It is what it is. But it's always there, and I have to take it out if I'm not going to do it. But it's there first. It's my priority. Okay. So guys, you got to kind of do the same thing. So if you make time, I'm gonna try and get rid of these little marks everywhere. 1 second. Okay, right. So you make time. When people say I haven't got no time, you make time by reducing these things. Okay, and when you reduce those things, you can fit this in. It could be you watch, I don't know, 2 hours of Netflix a night, then watch an hour and a half of Netflix and do a half-hour walk. Like that, it's the same time. It could be like you have lazy mornings because you had a little bit too many wines last night. Have less wine, get up and go for a walk in the morning. It's the same time. You're just choosing to spend it differently, right? So that's how you do it. You just make time for this stuff. And once you do, things will start to get a lot better for you. Okay. Um, and that, I think, comes to the end of my presentation, really. So I've got a bit of space now for some Q&As, guys. If you've got any questions, now is the time. You can either unmute yourself and ask me, or you can write it in the chat box. I don't mind. What have you got?
Gavin, it's Mark.
Yeah.
On your table, you're talking about the BMR, the NEAT and the EAT
Yeah.
balance.
Yeah.
NEAT versus EAT.
Yeah.
Obviously, you've got your natural movement and doing stuff during the day,
Yeah.
but then of course you've got your that exercise. The two cross over. So does that sort of come back down to your, I mean, because your BMR could be your naturally active,
Yeah.
but it does. I mean, it does only represent, um, a smaller percentage of your day.
Yeah.
But there's that balance. That was one question. The other one was, what happens? What's the best thing when you have bad days? So you go to a wedding and you tend to eat more or something like that. How do you
Sure.
recover? How do you recover from that quick? How do you recover from that rather than feel like you've just ruined your entire week because you've had a
All
bad day?
right.
And my last question was, the bigger meal of the day, lunch versus dinner. It doesn't really matter which way around, or is there an ideal? That's my
So, okay.
questions.
Sure. Okay. Neat versus eat. You're right, though. It is. Because, like, for me, I got a very inactive day. It just is what it is. So I actually have to manufacture it. And if I plan it, is actually exercise. I'm planned exercise, right? Because there's no way I'm going to get 7,000 steps by my day. It's just never going to happen. So I got a plan to make it. So, like, I had a really awesome conversation with a lady about a year ago, actually, and she couldn't lose weight and her husband couldn't gain weight. I said, okay, what do you do? She goes, oh, I'm an accountant and I sit down all day. I said, okay, what does your husband do? And she goes, oh, well, he works in a warehouse and he's lifting and walking around. So he was skinny, she was overweight. Well, he's got loads of neat. Like he's just by default active, right? So he doesn't have to even think about it. But she needed to plan it. She needed to add more steps in the form of a walk or whatever else. So they do very much crossover for sure. You're absolutely right. But a lot of us who have office jobs can't change the day. They just can't. You're stuck in an office. You can't go for an hour walk. You're stuck there. So they do cross over. So that just comes down to planning and actually going out and making time to add some exercise twice a day if it needs it. It's just a walk, right? It's not overly onerous. So the next, hopefully that answers that question. Number two is a wedding. Okay. So like how many weddings do you go to a year?
No, not a lot, but I'm just using that as an
Yeah.
example. It might be
Yeah.
you might go to a friend's place for a meal or
Yeah.
something like that, and they dish
Yeah.
up all this really yummy stuff. And I'm a bit
Yeah.
of a foodaholic, so I have
Sure.
a real problem of going, oh, I can't eat that because it's it's going to ruin my day.
Yeah.
I've still got to have it because it looks too good.
Yeah. And it's FOMO, it's dopamine, it's dopamine rush. Like, oh, I want it, I gotta have it. But the reality of it is, it's 365 days in a year, right? If you spend five of them or 20 of them at friends' house indulging a little bit, it's fine. It doesn't matter. You got to do the right thing most of the time. That is what it is. But then it also comes down to like, well, I'm going out for food with my family. I understand my goal is still there. Like I do it. I'm just not going to eat as much. And you're not missing out on anything. You just think you are. You're not really. You already know what chocolate tastes like. You already do. Like it's just we get this dopamine thing. Oh, I gotta have it feel good. I'm missing out, but you're not really missing out. You just it's just there. It is what it is. So it's a little bit of self-control. But on the flip side, just have a little bit. Just have a little bit and enjoy it and have a taste for it and whatever else. There's no real right answer to that. It's just about how much you want your goal. So like I went to plenty of parties early on. Didn't and I sometimes bit really weird. Took my own food with me as well because I didn't want to be thing. So that was like too extreme. I wouldn't recommend that. But like that's what I did. That's how important it was to me. And now I just understand. So I'll just like if I got like I know what my portion of the plate looks like. If I go to I just have the same portion size, and that's it. That's all I do, and then move on, which is quite hard. And then a bigger meals of the day. Like it doesn't matter. Like there may be little like tiny benefits eating less at night, so you're not having a bad sleep because you're too much food in your belly. But reality of it is, it's just a calories in, calories out for the day. So you can eat all your meals in the morning, all the meals in the evening. It doesn't matter because the balance is right. It's like if you spend all your money in the morning or spend all the money in the evening, you still spend all your money. It doesn't matter what time of day you spend it, right? So that's kind of I wouldn't. It's not even worth worrying about. It's just worrying about the total calories for the day. Eat them as you want. When does it fit in your day? When does it make you feel better? and just working that out. That's kind of my take. Awesome. So intermittent fasting, 100%. Like, so intermittent fasting is really buzzy, okay? Because they talk about autophagy is the big one, where they, gets rid of bad cells and whatever else. It's nonsense. It's a new one. It's made up, right? But intermittent fasting itself is calorie counting. Because if you were somebody that ate breakfast, a morning snack, and a coffee, okay, that's 600 calories you've eaten in the morning before your lunch. And then at 8 o'clock, you would have a glass of wine and some peanuts. That's 400, 500 calories. If you stop eating at 7 and start eating at midday, you've cut out all those calories at the end of the day. Therefore, you are now in a calorie deficit. That's what it is. That is what's causing you to lose weight. Now, I did intermittent fasting for about 12 months and I tracked my calories as well because I do MyFitnessPal. And I thought intermittent fasting was magic. So I crammed in my 2,000 calories into 6 hour window. And guess what happened? Nothing. Exactly the same weight. Nothing changed at all. I was full a lot, but I didn't make a difference at all. But if I'd like I'd just say I didn't eat the calories for breakfast and I just had 2 meals, then I would have been in a massive calorie deficit. I would have lost weight, but I didn't. I just ate the same amount of calories for my day in a window. So all I'm saying is you can do intermittent fasting if you want. There's nothing wrong with it. If it gives you some structure, I think it's a great thing. I think it cuts out unnecessary eating throughout the morning and daytime if you don't need it, and it gives you a structure. That is cool, but it's no magic. It is just a calorie game. You can do both. Like try it. Try eat your calories in 6 hours or try and eat them across a day and see what happens. And this is the same outcome, essentially. Cool, cool. Any other questions, team? Any other questions? Nice. Okay, well, in that case then, I think we might all be done. So protein powder we purchased from you. Okay, protein powder is not a meal replacement. It's just a protein supplement. So there's only 100 calories per serve, okay? So with that in mind, like it's not a meal replacement. Like Optifast is a meal replacement. Protein powders that we sell are not. You can eat them as a meal. Like I quite often have a banana and a protein shake for breakfast. I do that all the time. It's fine. Yeah, and that's it. But it's not because it's 100 calories and like you need 300 or 400 calories for your lunch and your dinner. That's what you need. Otherwise you're gonna be so hungry because that's the other thing as well. If you eat really tiny amounts of calories all day long, you end up hungry. And then in the evening, you can't stop eating because you're so hungry. And because our bodies are really cool at regulating our hunger hormones. One is called ghrelin, which is your hunger hormone. The other one is leptin, which is your feel full hormone. So if you eat like a bird all day long, and then at nighttime, the ghrelin is punching you in the face because you're starving and you can't stop eating. So that's kind of what it is. So my recommendation is just eat sensible size meals 3, 4, 5 times a day. And I promise you will make a big difference. And plan for that to happen, you'll be fine. And that's kind of it. Rhea, yes, you can share it if you want to when I send it to you. And thanks, Neetu. Thanks for listening to my dulcet tones on a Saturday morning. Cool. Anybody else? Otherwise, I'll cancel the recording and we're done. Have a good day.
Thank you, Gavin.
See you, team. Have a good one. Keep going with the challenge.